All right, folks, we'll get started. I am not Chair Wendy. She's engaging in a family matter, so I will be leading today's meeting. Reminder for folks, we do have some folks virtually, and we are being recorded. Just want to remind folks. I will call this meeting to order at 7:06. We don't have quorum yet. Excuse me, we do have quorum with our virtual attendees, but we don't have any in person. So correct me if I'm wrong, we cannot vote on things until we have an in-person quorum, correct?
Yes.
Just make sure we're on the same page. Again, we'll call this meeting to order at 7:07. We cannot do the consent calendar because that is an action item. So we will go on to, oh, I forgot, we need to do the attendance, don't we?
Of course, yeah.
Sorry about that.
So we have Chair Wendy, who's absent, Vice Chair Magana,
I'm present.
Commissioner Scissor, Commissioner Westfall, Commissioner Reyes, here, Commissioner Thurston, here, Commissioner Mendoza,
Present.
Commissioner Kelly,
Right here.
Commissioner Jolly, Commissioner Ramos, here, Commissioner Brown, present, Commissioner Allen.
Thank you. Thank you for folks for being here. So to clarify again, we do have a quorum. We can run the meeting, but we need a quorum of people physically in person in order for us to be able to vote. To make sure we're on the same page. We'll move on to would be the consent calendar, but we cannot vote on that yet. So we'll move on to the public record. I don't believe we've received any correspondence, or have we?
We have one item. Do you have that?
I do have it, 1 second, sorry. One second, the slideshow. Sorry, I forgot to open it. So the public comment reads, Dear San Jose Public Library Commission, I am a resident of San Jose and a library customer. Writing to the commission to request all the public librarians to remove their masks and the plastic separator on the counters, given now the COVID pandemic emergency is officially declared over by WHO, State of California, and President of the United States. By keeping wearing the mask and using the plastic separator between the librarians and customers, it creates a false sense of emergency and makes the communications extremely unfriendly and difficult. I, as a resident and a taxpayer, don't want to live in fear and anxiety anymore. Please follow the national and global policies and make the San Jose Public Library a pleasant and safe place. I thank you for your immediate attention and action in this matter, and I reserve my legal right if this isn't being taken care of in a timely manner. Thank you, Nyandong Wayne.
Thank you. Is there any other public record?
That's all.
All right, we'll move on to public forum or open forum. Folks will have 2 minutes to speak. Do we have any members of the public who are wishing to speak?
Yes. Mr. Soto, present and raised.
Mr. Soto, you'll have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Paul Soto from the Horseshoe. I'd like to talk about the Biblioteca. The Biblioteca was located, it was created out of a closet by Father Moriarty, who is a priest at Sacred Heart Church. My mother and father were graduates of Woodrow Wilson, and that's where it was located. It was located in the back of Woodrow Wilson before its current location. Where it is now, the current location was the location of a Safeway that was very pivotal in the grape strikes from 1965 through the 1970s. And so it was a very critical meeting point for the Chicano movement and for the farm workers movement. And I categorize those two as being synonymous. because you don't have the Chicano movement without the farm workers movement. You don't have the farm workers movement without the Chicano movement. And they have their birthplaces right here in Salsipuedes, where my father is from. And I need to set that stage because what I'm going to say is important. When I went into that library, you do not have a section in there on Chicano history. Nothing. Now, I don't want to hear your response about Latino history, Latinx history. I don't want to hear that. Chicano is a word, and I feel very disrespected as a citizen of this city and from that barrio. My mother went to Washington School. I went to the same school that my mother went to. Both my parents went to Woodrow Wilson. And there was a lot of dead bodies that were found in the back of that supermarket that when I was going to school, constantly seeing an ambulance in the back of that supermarket. So I experienced a lot in that barrio, but I have not experienced this kind of disrespect. I want to see, and I'm demanding as a citizen and as a Chicano, I am demanding that this library start putting a section in there on Chicano history, because if we're having Chicano studies in the universities, that means we're still here. We still exist. I'm sick and tired of this city, man, disrespecting Chicanismo and the Chicano movement and the farm workers movement.
Mr. Soto, that concludes your public comment. The 2 minutes are up. Do we have any other members of the public for public comment?
We do not.
All right, that moves on. Sorry, open forum, public comments. We'll move on to section B, our discussion and action item. We'll start first with our informational item, our youth commission announcements.
Stand right here. So, hello everyone, I'm Megan Malloy. I am a librarian here at Teen HQ, and I have been the coordinator of the San Jose Youth Commission for the past year. I apologize that Chair Chen is not here to give the last report. He is at Disneyland at grad night, so I don't blame him. So I hope you can all understand. But just to update you, so 7 youth commissioners presented their annual work plan report to the Neighborhood Services and Education Committee last Thursday. The council members had nothing but positive things to say about the work that the Youth Commission has done this year, and they made some suggestions to connect with other city programs next year. And the report was accepted unanimously. The final Youth Commission meeting of our fiscal year is next Monday, May 22nd, and it will be in council chambers, so they're all very excited. And the Youth Commission Recognition Awards event will be held at the Rotunda in City Hall, Friday, June 16th. At 5 p.m. This is an annual event that celebrates the Youth Commission's work, says farewell to our outgoing commissioners, and recognizes the volunteer contributions of teens who have participated in all of the district youth advisory councils. And finally, earlier this year, the Youth Commission was given directive from City Council that's resulted in a months-long youth-led development of a memo that recommends expanding the voices of our Youth Commission and encourages more youth civic participations, which Thank you.
Before we have any questions or comments, is there any public comment for this item?
Yes, there is a public comment. Paul Soto, go ahead and speak.
Yes, Paul Soto from the Horseshoe. What I'd like to advocate for on this Youth Commission Council, because I go to these meetings too, is that we really start trying to encourage Chicanos on these forums. When look at the composition, I mean, let's just be real about it and let's be honest about it. Look at the composition of that board. It's Asian. That's all it is. It's Asian. There's a couple of other, there's no Chicano, no Mexicano representation. And I'm not talking about brown people or Latinx people or people of marginalized low-income census tract people or brown people. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about Chicanos, because they do exist here, and Chicano representation is critically important when we're talking about racial equity within the context of the city. Now, this commission talks a lot. This youth commission talks a lot about racial equity. They don't even know the definition of it. They do not know the definition of it. So how is it that we as the adults in this city going to allow a youth commission to form and they don't even know what the definition of it is? And I'm not talking about the rhetorical mission statement that exists in the city of San Jose. That's an aspiration. I'm not talking about aspirations. I'm talking about definitions and what that means. What does it mean to suffer the inequity? Because if you don't know what it's like and you don't know how to define what it's like to suffer inequity, then how can you speak about equity? Because it's the antonym. No word exists unless you have its antonym. You have to have the word and then its antonym in order to know what it means. This commission is ignorant of that. And I mean ignorant in the sense that just lack of knowledge. And so we need to start really encouraging a little bit more representation of the sons, daughters, and granddaughters of the campesinos de Sasipuedes, because it was that population that experienced the racial.
You, Mr. Soto, that concludes your 2 minutes. And to clarify, all students are welcome and appreciate all their knowledge and what they bring to our commission. Any other public comment? None?
No.
Okay, we'll go to commissioners. Commissioner Kellum.
Thank you for that presentation. Appreciate it. It's nice to see you.
Good to see you in person.
Question is directed for you. You said there's an event on Friday, June 16th at the Rotunda.
Correct.
Are we invited?
That's a great question. I can coordinate with our administrative staff to see if we can send you all invites and make sure it's on your calendars.
I would love to attend.
Yeah. Thank you.
I have a question. In regard to youth league, you're talking about, is that open for any youth or do you have requirement for that?
Yes, in order to join and participate or be appointed to the Youth Commission, you do have to be between the ages of 14 and 20 upon appointment. We just recently we just closed the application period for this year. And we have new appointments that will be going to be approved at City Council very soon. The applications open year round, very similar to how all commissions are, but we pull all the applications and review them in April. So we will have commissioners outgoing next year. And so if you know anyone who is interested, we ask them to please apply. Yeah, I love to have a full commission, as I'm sure you all understand.
Thanks for that too. I'm going to ask you another question.
Mhm.
Have you ever considered doing a junior youth commission? So when they grow up out of middle school, that they graduate right to the youth commission?
That's actually a really interesting point that you bring up. So the Youth Commission came under library oversight 2 years ago in 2021. So the first year it was previously at the Parks and Rec underneath them. So the first year we're just kind of getting our bearings, sort of figuring out what works. And then this year, I think we were really able to work a little bit closer to our work plan and coordinate a little bit closer to the goals that the commissioners have and the way they see themselves as part of the city. My understanding is that when they were underneath Parks and Rec, they did have kind of an internship kind of model where younger commissioners would sort of participate during the summer with hopes to encourage them to apply to be commissioners. Now, all of our district commissioners have these councils. They're called Youth Advisory Councils, or YACs. And that is really where we can encourage any youth in San Jose to really participate and volunteer their time without the expectations of having to attend regularly scheduled Brown Active Commission meetings. So even if you don't get appointed to be a commissioner, because we do have some districts that are overwhelmed with applications, you still can participate and engage at a local government level in those YACs. I hope I answered your question. No,
No.
it's sort of like a junior. I use the YACs as sort of that junior YAC model, that junior youth commission model. They have individual ones that they run with the youth commissioner, essentially acting as chair, and then they help to support that commissioner, who then provides all of that youth input to at the commission level. And then all of that will then go up to NSC and City Council. So there is sort of a junior youth commission model in the Youth Advisory Council.
Good, thank you.
You're very welcome.
I would also comment, Commissioner, the Youth Commission had been charged by the council with considering how we can have more youth representation on other city commissions. They haven't mentioned that idea of adding an additional commission. So that's the work that they've been doing this year and are preparing to make some recommendations to the Neighborhood Services and Education Committee next month around ensuring youth participation in other committees. So perhaps, this could be something that we discuss in the next work plan.
Cool, I like
Okay,
that.
good.
Other questions or comments? Awesome. If you can again send our best wishes to the commission
Yes.
and thank them for their service.
Yes, just one last. So they take the summer off and we will begin next year in August with a new work plan and a new chair who will be appointed, who will come and introduce themselves to you, hopefully in August or September of the next fiscal year. So thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
As a reminder, folks, this is an informational item, so we will go on with our orders of business. Our next item is submission of topics for fiscal year 2023-2024 Library and Education Commission work.
So typically we have a structure for our annual work plan, and our own chief of staff, Ann Grabowski, is going to walk you through the structure and then the opportunities for the commission to suggest new topics.
Thanks, Jill. This would have been Chair Wendy's item, so I'm gonna pitch it, which is nice because I helped make the thing. So, won't be too hard. What you received in your packet is the administration draft recommendation for items that we would suggest and the timelines we would suggest them coming forward on. The process that we go through to establish this draft work plan is we look at past years, we review the notes of items that you've requested. We look at where those items are substantively in their workflow and work process and when they're going to come forward for decision or feedback, when that will be meaningful. And then we usually schedule that item to come to the Library Commission the month before it goes forward to a council committee so that we get your public feedback and engagement before we take any item substantively forward to the city council. And so what you received in your packet is our draft overview. I won't go over it step by step, detail by detail, because you do have it in front of you and it's much easier to see. But I'll give you a moment to skim it, and then we can open for questions. This is your opportunity to suggest new items. We have intentionally left it light so that we can have space to add things. We can certainly discuss moving items around between the months that will affect when things go to city council and so on and so forth. And so we try not to do that, but certainly are open to that if the commission requests that.
And Ann, do you want to comment on the items that are in italics or the required items? Maybe they're not in italics.
Yes.
Well,
The
sorry.
education and digital literacy annual update is in italics and bold because it's required to happen at that time. And then your special super meeting in November, where you meet as the different regulatory governance bodies for the different funding measures, those are bolded and italicized. Not quite sure why equity and inclusion services and digital literacy and public technology are bolded and italicized. Those can be disregarded in the emphasis. Maybe the other thing to note is that the June meeting is in gold because this is actually an alternative date. The June meeting would take place on Juneteenth, which is now a city holiday, and the city will be closed on June 19th. So it's recommended that we meet June 12th instead.
There are also items on there, like the submission of topics we typically do in May for the following year, like we are today. And the election of officers is typically at the June meeting the next year.
Are there any recommendations, suggestions, or questions?
Commissioner Kelly.
Yeah, I do. It's a really good document. I appreciate it. And it covers many of the things we've talked about in past meetings. But based on some of the things that we've heard recently, I would like to recommend that we talk about Chicano studies based on these folks who continue to call in and talk about that. I think that's an important message that we can deal with. Maybe it can fit under another heading. I don't know. The other thing would be, like Megan talked about, the Youth Commission. I see that there's a spot in here for Children and Youth Master Plan, perhaps the subheading on that for the Youth Commission. And the third thing is that I know the library has a wonderful program for financial literacy for people. I would really like to see financial literacy start a little bit earlier than what it is right now. I'd like to see a program, financial literacy for children, And I have somebody that I can recommend who has a program in place, ready to move forward if that's accepted as part of the work plan.
Really quickly, just to clarify, Commissioner Kelly, you said financial literacy as in a program that's occurring or something that we're going to talk about for the entire library during
For the entire library system.
Perhaps where that might fit into what we're already planning to do is the public services overview, which will include a section on programming. And based on the request, we could certainly do a spotlight.
Yeah, that would work.
Other commissioners?
I think what to add on, I saw that different stuff spotlight to different allocation. And I just thinking only because, most of the commissioners are here, how about included them too, what the responsibility or role of the commissioner working, example, in Alhambra or Bascom or different kind of library. Because I know that it's very important that staff and the commissioner working together, supporting each other.
We'll consider that. Yeah.
The Commissioner, may I ask a clarifying question? Commissioner Reyes, do you mean in relation to the meetings that occur at the branch?
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And the same time with the example I saw on February 21st, the spotlight for Alhambra Library, and I saw other location there, or Bascom Library. Yeah, so like I know it's talking more on staff, so I just thinking for us being appointed and volunteer, I think it's better also be included as part.
Any suggestions or recommendations? So it sounds like the recommendations that have come in are aligned to things that we can fit into our current work plan. I don't want to interpret for staff, but
Yeah, I would say so. I think we have some spaces where we also have staff spotlights, and so some of the programming questions and ideas could also be identified by just highlighting what's already available through those staff spotlight agenda items, and then allowing discussion from there too. Since there wouldn't necessarily be a separate report that would be forwarded to another body, perhaps we could do that. And Mr. Chair, just to note that you do have.
I wrote it down. So yeah, sorry. Any other? We'll jump into public comment. Reminder, you have 2 minutes and we will stop promptly at that section.
Thank you, Paul Soto from the Horseshoe. Here's one of the reasons why this is critically important for the library system as a whole, but specifically for the Biblioteca. 4 months ago, I was successful in having Sacred Heart Church and the building that served as the first headquarters for Lowrider Magazine. Both of those now in the city of San Jose are historical landmarks. I am extremely proud of that work. That's my work in conjunction with PAC SJ and Ben Leach. Sacred Heart Church is just 2 blocks down from there. There is a very rich Chicano, not Latinx, not Latino, not Chicano history in that area. Cesar Chavez actually walked on that land where the Biblioteca sits now. I mean, and he considered himself a Chicano. He referenced himself as a Chicano. Let me give you an example. If a gay man walks into a room and says, my name is Kimberly, and I reference myself as she and her, everybody would make absolutely certain that Kimberly, who was.
Mr. Soto, please stay on the topic of our item.
If you give me the time, I will do that. Don't interrupt me. Don't do that again. Now, what I'm saying is that when I reference myself as a Chicano, I expect to be respected as such. But the city continues to deny me that respect. But yet a gay person, when they demand.
All right, Mr. Soto, we're gonna have to stop you there. Thank you.
Why? There's no.
The commission.
No. Why are you cutting me off? What did I do? What did I?
Mr. Soto, we're moving on to our next item.
Attention, the library will close to the public in 30 minutes. Please check out your materials now.
After he can, the library will remain available to SJC Spartans with current tarot cards. Once again, the library will close to the public in 30 minutes.
Don't forget to turn in your books too. I got my notice of it. Any other comments from our commission on this item? All right, as a reminder, this is an informational item. We will move on to our next item, which is our adult literacy program.
Hi, everybody. I'm Michelle Arnott, Deputy Director of Public Services. It's my privilege tonight to be able to introduce the adult literacy programming item. We have Carla Alvarez, who is our Manager of Equity and Inclusion. Carla is the 2023 recipient of Library Journal's Mover and Shakers Award in the Innovations category. I want to preface this by saying that this annual award is for Movers and Shakers is a big deal in the library world. It's a very big deal. And Carla is one of two San Jose Public Library recipients this year. Our other recipient is Lizzie Nolan, who's our Manager of Youth Services, who isn't here, but we have to acknowledge her. But Carla, I'm very happy that we get to have her in person tonight to be able to recognize her. And then we also have Adrienne McBride, who is our Manager of Partners in Reading, which is our adult literacy services. This will be Adrienne's last report to this commission because Adrienne is moving on. He's leaving the state, moving to Tennessee. So he'll be very, very missed.
Thank you. All right. So as Michelle mentioned, my name is Adrienne McBride. I'm Communities Program Administrator with Partners in Reading. Partners in Reading offers English reading, writing, and now speaking services to adults throughout San Jose. In fiscal year 21-22, our 82 tutors provided over 3,800 instructional hours to more than 100 learners in the city. PARS tutoring is learner-centered, and learners work with their tutors to meet specific reading and writing goals. These would be things like writing an email to a child's teachers, creating a resume, or working on reports for work. As a quick note, through April of this fiscal year, we're already at nearly 3,900 hours of instructional time. So we've already exceeded the instructional hours we did for the previous fiscal year. Next slide, please. PARS services in fiscal year 21-22 were primarily provided virtually. We used grant funds to purchase 20 Chromebooks to loan out to learners, and we also had 5 unfiltered hotspots from the library's SJ Access program. We offered 8 different virtual small group classes for learners. These were on topics ranging from English grammar to Broadway musicals. And these gave learners a chance to learn from home while working or while on a lunch break, as well as explore their own interests. Our partner ESL classes continued virtually, and Career Online High School also continued interviewing, onboarding, and leading virtual graduation ceremonies. Next slide, please. We're already, there we go. PAR provides a myriad of programs to support adults in San Jose. Our Career Online High School program provides adults with the opportunity to earn a high school diploma and career certificate online. This addresses the need that about 15% of adults over 25 in San Jose have. Also, since the end of the fiscal year, our ESL program has expanded from a class-based program at partner sites to include one-on-one and small group tutoring, thanks to a grant from the California State Library. In San Jose, 58% of households speak a language other than English at home. We are also a consistent presence throughout San Jose. We've given over 7,500 books away to children and adults at local resource fairs and outreach events, and distribute additional literacy materials to our learners through our Together We Read program. Next slide. That's not the right one, is it? Okay. Next. Okay. No, I think that's one goes to you. Sorry.
Okay. Good evening, commissioners. My name is Carla Alvarez. My pronouns are she, ella, and I'm the Community Programs Administrator for Equity and Inclusion Services. Happy to share some of the highlights from our Family Learning Centers this evening. So as Family Learning Centers are also referred to as FLCs by their abbreviation, they serve programs and services to improve the quality of life
for historically underserved and underrepresented communities. We have 9 locations. They primarily concentrate in areas with higher socioeconomic disparities. And the list is included here: Bascom Biblioteca Latinoamericana, Dr. Roberto Alum Rock, East San Jose Carnegie, Edenvale Educational Park, Hillview, Seven Trees, and Tully. And each of these FLCs are staffed by a full-time coordinator who is there to provide individual support and group classes and services navigation, and also spend a significant amount of time conducting community outreach. This, for the fiscal year 21-22, the FLC served 4,698 patrons in a combination of programs, including immigration status changes workshops, English language learning clubs and classes, computer instruction, workshops for parents and other peer support spaces, information, guest presentations, and referrals to CBOs and other service providers regarding applications for unemployment, housing, food application assistance, as well as a combination of programs offered directly in Spanish and Vietnamese, and dedicated areas within many of these branches with additional specialized collections, technology, and classrooms. The following chart outlines some of the highlights in our programming this past fiscal year. Some of the highlights include a range of digital equity programming, including digital skills building and one-on-one support, citizenship mock interviews and workshops regarding immigration status changes. We work closely with PARS Equality and the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services. There are also a host of conversation and grammar practice clubs for English language learning, as well as classes that are taught in partnership with Overflow Adult Education. Hillview branch also offered Vita tax assistance, and for holistic care, East branch offers virtual yoga series for gentle and accessible yoga for many needs. And in the next fiscal year, we're hoping to continue building on the digital equity programming portfolio with more skills building opportunities, also expanding our English language learning opportunities with a new partnership that we're developing with Evergreen Community College and a pilot with Independence Adult Center, and even more peer support spaces in Spanish. The Vita Tax program also filled up slots very quickly again, so we are also exploring the potential for additional branch locations to support even more residents. As we've been reporting in the last couple of years, both PAR and the FLCs invest quite heavily in providing one-on-one support for digital skills building and confidence with using technology. And so which includes support with tech troubleshooting for people's laptops, phones, downloading software, navigating how to do upgrades, as well as online job search support and navigating online public service navigation. The teams connect patrons to the devices available through our State Access initiative, including hotspots, Chromebooks, and laptops. And as learners complete our digital skills building program, they continue to set up appointments for a lot of individual follow-ups that come afterwards. But we see them grow more confident in their understanding and usage of tech devices. For patrons who don't have anybody else to turn to, especially our older adults, this service has given them an opportunity to come to a trusted space. So the quote featured here is by Janet. She says, "I did not grow up with computers, nor were they even available in college. It seemed that the world was passing me by. I didn't know where to reach out for help, but I finally found one-on-one tech help, and it has been so helpful. Tiffany is great. I no longer feel that I'm obsolete." And she's referring to Tiffany Leon, who is our FLC coordinator at Seven Trees branch.
And then this is our work plan for the next fiscal year, 23-24. So PAR has already seen strong community need for our ESL tutoring program with over 20 potential learners attending each orientation since we began them in January of 2023. Therefore, our primary focus in 2023-24 will be to increase our number of tutors so that we can meet the need of the community. For our ESL program, tutors typically work in small groups of up to 4 learners per tutor. This has reduced the number of cancellations, encourages conversation between learners, and maximizes our tutors' availability. To help address the needs some more, as Carla mentioned, PAR is working with FLC staff and Evergreen Valley College to offer formal ESL classes at branch locations. We're also taking advantage of a grant from the California State Library to offer some new programming that encourages nature exploration. This will include visits to local parks, state parks, as well as Together We Read mailing centered around nature exploration and other offsite programming. Finally, we believe we'll be on track to issue 60 scholarships for Career Online High School next fiscal year. And this is a return to our previous our pre-COVID goal. So thank you. Carmen.
And as far as the FOCs, they rely on a combination of partners and attendance at key community events to get the word out about programming and services available. For this past fiscal year 21-22, we did notice a decline in usual rates as employers and other stakeholders also began moving to more in-person schedules, leaving people with less time to make it to ongoing programming. However, we've noticed an uptick in attendance since this past summer, now showing more than 155% increase from a year prior, and we're well on our way now to meeting figures that are aligned with pre-pandemic rates. The team invests heavily in outreach, and it will continue to do so to get the word out and build more relationships with community members, especially by meeting community where they are at. And so for the next coming fiscal year, we'll be incorporating new programs that meet community needs, including the digital skills building pathways that just started a pilot and it's about to finish, that will run, and then we will also look at an expansion for job seeker programs that also recently started a first round this quarter for piloting to support more understanding on how to navigate online job positions and job applications. So we'll be setting targets in June based on these two pilot outcomes. And then we'll also continue doing a mixture of virtual and in-person programming because while some people really are ready to be in person, there are so many needs. For example, those that are straddling childcare, multiple jobs, transportation challenges, virtual, or a mixture of both hybrid are also really critical access opportunities for them to continue their learning. So the staff will continue to offer that throughout the year. And then upcoming this year, new is we're looking forward to have the whole unit of FOCs go through the equity, diversity, and inclusion unit-wide assessment using our recently approved quality standards. And this concludes our presentation this afternoon. We are welcome and open to any questions you might have.
Before we jump into questions and comments, any public comments?
No.
Commissioner Keller.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much. I have a question for you. The English language learning program was wildly successful. It's greater than all the rest of the programs combined. Are you filling all the classes or do you have room for more? Or how is that working?
It depends on the partnership. And I think a lot of the figures is because we offer multiple classes every week. And so depending on the partnership, but usually with our formal higher education institutions, so the adult learning centers, they have to have a minimum of 15 spots per class for them to be able to sustain and continue it based on their own funding program. So all of those slots are filled, and actually part of the conversations we're having with Evergreen Community College is to expand it and offer it to even more branches this coming year. Yeah.
So is that a realistic program?
Partnership of Evergreen is they will also assign a counselor to be able to respond and give support to those students that are interested in registering and attending to the classes. And that also has proven to have a much greater positive effect for a sustained attendance throughout the semester.
And what other partners have been approached?
We're looking with, we're working also with across the street from Educational Park with an Independence Adult Center. And we've had an ongoing partnership with Overfelt.
So the other junior colleges and city colleges?
And volunteers as well.
Attention, the library will close to the public in 15 minutes. Please check out your materials now. After we can, the library will remain available to SJC Spartans with current tarot cards. Once again, the library will close to the public in 15 minutes.
So, do you take volunteers from the community?
Always, and they usually also run our language learning clubs.
How does one become involved in that?
We're happy to connect you to the volunteer portal. If you ever have questions, the volunteer link is always available online. That's the first step to go through and operating as a volunteer. And you can anyone can express interest in being an English language learning volunteer.
Yeah. And then for partners in reading, So we have an orientation that volunteers can attend, learn a little bit more about the two different programs we have, because we have the adult basic education and the ESL program. And then we have 2 Saturdays of training, one focusing on working with adults and being learner centered. And then the second Saturday is split between, depending on what your focus is, working on the reading and writing skills or working on the English speaking skills.
Yeah, I have a BA and an MA in English. I would really be happy to be involved in that,
Great.
even though I'm Irish.
I think I have a question. Yeah, so I know you talk about the volunteers. So the classes they offer for 5 branches in the library, it's offered during the daytime, nighttime, or the weekend.
Combination. So,
Combination.
right now we usually have a morning and an evening session. So depending on the partner and the location, we usually we're offering a combination of morning or evening sessions for the FLC locations and for PAR.
Yeah, so for PAR, we offer our ESL classes offsite there at partner locations, Santee Elementary, and we offer them through Catholic Charities. And they're offered during the day. So the idea is parents drop off their kids for elementary school and then they stay there for the ESL class.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Commissioner Poston.
I have a question. You mentioned the support for job seekers, and I know the city has a lot of vacancies right now, so I was wondering if it's feasible or even possible to have some sort of synergy where people who are seeking jobs could potentially be matched up with openings that the city has, or if that's not something that really makes sense.
Yeah, to delve a little bit more deeply into the job seeking support we're currently looking at is because so many of the people that are coming to FLCs as they're job seeking, they're also expressing more desire to develop their digital skills in general. And so that tends to be the first starting point of let's first work on a resume creation of helping you understand what an online job portal looks like, how to enter that information, how to apply and create different accounts for the different job application portals that exist. There's still a lot of confusion in education that they're needing support for. And so a lot of our FLC coordinators are spending a lot of time one-on-one. So what we're really working on is creating a more formalized overview so that we can better support job seekers and they can move more quickly through their job navigation program and start thinking about career development opportunities and more intense application processes. But and a lot of times they come and they're like, I need a job today. Like, I don't have time to do all of these. So we're really trying to develop the different building blocks to make sure that they're more successful in their career journey.
Other questions or comments?
Right. On one of the slides, it noted that there are 35 people waiting on PAR, and you talked a little bit about how you're going to kind of catch up with that. Is any of that are you able to implement any of that sooner than later to try to?
Yeah, I mean,
The wait list go down sooner.
tutor recruitment's an ongoing process with us. So we have every other month we have tutor orientations and then two tutor trainings. So I think for the last tutor orientation and training, we ended up with 11 people attended the orientation. Of that, I think 5 ended up going to the training. So there's always a, when we look at the drop-offs usually, we get people sign up online and then there's a drop-off there and then a drop-off there as far as that goes. But we're also looking at different ways where we can increase or speed up the training, things of that nature. So.
Great, thank you.
Commissioner, I'm so glad that you asked that, because one of the things I was going to say is that while Adrian is very professional about how they presented it, increasing the number of tutors for the Partners in Reading or the Adult Literacy Program is one of our greatest priorities. So if the commission has ideas, connections, networks, folks that we could, if you want to request information from our team that we could share out there, we have a lot of learners who would like to be tutored, and we definitely saw a drop off during the pandemic, but we already had a wait list before the pandemic, right? So just kind of re-energizing that, it's such an impactful program, and we would love any advice or support for spreading the word for more tutors.
I would appreciate, I mean, if we just got some bullet points that we can start getting out there and encouraging people to volunteer that time and a sense of what the commitment is so that people know what they're getting into and don't have that drop off, right? As much because people know what to expect coming in. I think that'd be helpful.
Yeah.
If this is
Probably.
something you're looking to grow, let's get on it.
We think it prepared like a little recruitment.
Yeah, we have our recruitment flyer.
Marketing team to put something together.
Thank you.
I do have a question on that note. I think you mentioned Oberfeld. What if another school district wanted to get involved?
We're
How would,
always
if they have
happy.
parent liaisons, how do we connect them to this type of program?
Yeah, we're always happy to, if the alignment also makes sense, sometimes it's the professor, educator availability, the capacity and the availability within our limited community room space also but if there's interest by another education institute, we'd be more than happy to have a conversation about how to connect.
They contact you.
Yes, please.
Other questions or comments? Informational items again. Carla, congratulations on your
Thank you.
award. Adrian, we're going to miss you very much. Thank you for your
Good
service to
job.
our library.
It's been great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, folks. That is an informational item. We'll move on to council release on this announcement.
Hello, everybody. Nothing too much to report, just that I've been advertising every library event that we can, newsletter. I did want to share that we're at a big night event at Martin Park at King Philly, and I was encouraging people to sign up to the summer learning program, but I did find that Pablo where when you switch to Spanish, you speak to Spanish throughout the whole way of the process. So didn't have to do that much. Wanted to share that with you and maybe to make it through friends throughout the whole process. So you can use it for them.
You mean the online
Yeah.
materials?
You
Okay.
register, you can register, but then there is just friends. Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Any comments or questions for Carla? Thank you again, Diego, for being here. Always appreciate your presence and your updates. We'll move on to chair's announcements. I was not left with any announcements, but I will say I do appreciate the library's email and automatic renewal for late books because I found late books that we have and then turn them in. So I appreciate that. And thank you to the commission for advocating for removal of late fines for kids. I would have a bill on my hands right now. That's all that I have. We'll move on to director's announcements.
Thank you. Yes, and on Saturday, our West Valley branch turned 20. As you talked about in the past, we had a wonderful celebration. And our current mayor, our current vice mayor, who's the District 1 representative, and our former District 1 representative actually all attended, and I want to thank them and was involved in that. So we had a wonderful crowd, a really great celebration at that branch. A lot of talk about the community's appreciation, engagement, and maybe some future growth for the branch as well. I did want to acknowledge we've been deep in budget conversations. As you all know, there's so much going on right now. And I did want to acknowledge our councilmember liaison is such a library advocate that I've never experienced such support before in this position. So I really want to pass on my thanks for that. We do have summer learning pre-registration now open. Everyone is invited to sign up. It goes from June 1st to July 31st. You can register and
Attention, the library will close to the public in 5 minutes. Please check out your materials now. After 8 p.m., the library will remain available to SJC Spartans with current tower cards. Once again, the library will close to the public in 5 minutes.
that's like right there. Okay, so you can register at sjpl.org/summer and also go to your local location and to get some prizes available for all ages. This summer, we're also providing a new opportunity for learning participants who can now have their reading sponsored to raise funds for the library through the new Read to Raise fundraiser. So funds raised from June 1st through July 31st will directly support the 2024 Summer Learning Program. It's a new program. And as you heard a little bit about, this seems to be the season, even though our Golden State Warriors lost, the library is winning big. So the San Jose Library has had 6 award-winning staff members this year. A group of staff is recognized by a number of organizations, different categories, whether it be for their creativity in shaping the future of libraries, accomplishments in exceptional library professionals, or honoring the highest quality efforts in promoting and communicating the value of libraries. So as you did hear, we have 2 2023 Library Journal Movers and Shakers. One is our own Carla Alvarez, and also Lizzie Nolan, who you've met before as our youth service manager. I will acknowledge that in 2009, I was so it's a big deal. And they're all going to be library directors someday. And then for the California Library Association, our own Megan Malloy, who you heard from earlier, but I think has gone back to her office, who is our youth services librarian, coordinates our youth commission. She won the Young Adult Service Award for California State Library. Isn't that amazing? And then also the California Library Association's PR Excellence Award was given to our marketing and communications team for their Sundays on Sunday New Hours campaign. So Elizabeth and her team, not surprising, but wait, there's more. Also, we have this. Oh, can I tell them about the new one? You didn't write it down. I'm gonna tell them. There's a National Library Association Board for Marketing Excellence. That's a really big deal, and our team is winning it again. So I'm not supposed to do that. They won it again. And so I'm sorry, I totally thought it was gonna be on the second page. That's why I stopped. So it's Elizabeth Castaneda, you all know, is our public information manager, Nancy Macias, our public information representative, and Moises Moreno, who is also public information representative. We're so proud to have such a multi-talented group of staff, and I'm glad that you all get to hear from them. And I think that concludes. Oh, we have one more thing. Although we did have our West Valley branch celebration going on this weekend, we also had our 8th annual Hira de Libro, which is a library tour by bicycle. The tour had approximately 28 participants pedaling through a 21-mile route that visited Tully, Seven Trees, Edenville, Santa Teresa, and Pearl Avenue branch libraries. Photos from the event are available at sjpl.org/Hira-Libro.
Impressive. Any comments or questions for Director Boyd? All right, folks, we'll move on to our next item, comments and announcements. We'll start with our friends group's comments and announcements and updates. Any comments from Commissioner Kelly?
As usual.
Thank you.
I'm going to bring one thing up from my list. Jill, you're talking about rewards and awards. I think that's really important. And it's great that everybody's being told what a good job they're doing. And we're trying to initiate that with the friends groups as well. All too often the work the friends group is, come in and do your work and go home. But it really makes people feel good when you recognize what they've done and you give them a pat on the back or a sock in the jar or something like that. And I was really, well, something like that. I was really pleased to see a blog that came out from Library Administration on the Bascom Volunteer of the Year, Brian Finnerty. If there's anyone that deserves to be recognized, it's Brian. Many, many years with very poor health, and he still pitches in and does his job. So I can't tell you how much that means to volunteers when they're appreciated like that. Speaking of volunteers at the Bascom Library, we had a book sale on Saturday. We sold about $600 worth of books. That helps a lot because the sales in all of the branches in the Nooks are really low, but the book sales are the saving benefit.
Attention, the library is now closed to the public. Extended study hours are now in effect. SJSU Spartans with current tower cards may remain in the building. All others must exit now. Once again, the library is now closed to the public. Extended study hours are now in effect.
And if it wasn't for some of the wholesaler units that we deal with as well at almost every branch, we would not be making as much money in the friends groups as we are. And those groups and those friends groups that are active really have good treasuries to spend. So we encourage all the librarians to ask for the money. All Friends meeting was April 29th, and I announced last meeting that we were going to have a specialty speaker courtesy of the foundation on 501c3 participation, and it was really a lively discussion. A lot of good information came out of that, and I'm looking forward to following up with both the speaker and with Dawn about some of the decisions and some of the questions that we came up with for that meeting. Also, there was which is really helpful when you get a bunch of people together talking about similar issues, some resolutions can be made. And one of the things was how to sort donated children's books, because we get tons of children's books that come in, and what goes kindergarten, what goes to first grade, where does young adults end and adults begin, and all that kind of stuff. During the conversation, one of the people at the event gave us a printout of how to do that. So those are the kinds of things that happen when you have an All Friends meeting. So that is that. And thank you very much. And the bell's going to go off shortly.
Any questions for Commissioner Kelly? Comments? All right, we'll move on to item B, meetings attended by commissioners as commission. Commissioner Kelly.
Yeah, I had a really good time attending a Silicon Valley Rotary meeting. And I learned that at that meeting, they have taken on the challenge of the Little Free Book Program. And they're spending money and reaching out to neighborhood associations and neighborhood groups to fund those little free libraries, as many as they can in the San Jose area. So that was fun.
Other commissioners?
I went to the district one community budget meeting. Last week. So those meetings, it turns out they do a half hour, because the mayor does a half hour on the budget, and then you can ask questions. So asked about the library, and basically he said that he has his priorities, so I could figure out a way to, the three priorities is probably from but to figure out a way to pitch how the library system goes. That's hopeful. And then I went to the city council meeting yesterday and gave a comment. And I think it's probably likely for the future ones, but instead of getting 2 minutes, you only get 1 minute, which goes very fast. But and I only stayed for 3 hours of that, so I don't know. And online, I wasn't there, so I don't know how everything turned out. But
Other commissioners?
I went to the budget meeting on May 1st at the Trees Community Center, and I actually was shy to speak in front of everyone because there's a lot of people talking about housing. I'm like, okay, I'm going to be off topic here, but I did corner Mayor Mahan after and had that little talk with him about, hey, we really want to waive fees. We really would like to get back to pre-pandemic hours and get our Sunday hours in and push it. And he was pushing back to, but I'm doing what I can to just help you keep the hours that you have. And I don't think that's right what you're doing. I think you can, it's education, it's our community. I think we need to have another conversation soon. So we'll see if that happens. But it was nice to have a moment and to really just push our agenda. And I'm hoping as everyone keeps pushing that we do get receive some of the work that we're doing now.
Other commissioners? Thank you all for everything that you're doing, the extra work that's going in to advocate for our libraries. We'll move on to our next item, our San Jose Public Library Foundation.
So the next Empower, Educate, Engage event is May 21st at West Valley Branch, and it will have a focus on AAPI representation in the library, as well as a panel of Resilience Corps associates. The Resilience Corps program addresses economic and workforce development needs by hiring young adults at living wage to aid in learning recovery from kindergarten through 8th grade. Students who were affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. If you're curious to hear more from the current Resilience for Associates, there, you can do that at the event. And also author Dorcas Channing Chosen, who's the author of Social Justice for the Sensitive Soul, will be there as well. So definitely encourage you to attend and bring a guest who wants to learn more about the library. And another really fun event that will be coming up is Christy Yamaguchi's Family Literacy Festival. That's going to be held Saturday, June 10th at the Children's Discovery Museum. And that will have theaters Christy Yamaguchi, Paulina Edmonds, authors Tim McKenna and Jennifer Crosby, musical entertainment Andy B, and Alphabet Rockers. So there's a morning and an afternoon event that you can attend, 2 different sessions. So you can go to the foundation website to register, and same for the Empower, Engage, Educate, Engage event as well. If you're interested in attending, just go to the foundation website to register. And then lastly, the advocacy committee has been trying to attend the community budget meeting. Thank you, Kathy, for sharing out the list of all of those, as well as all of the city council hearings. So as I mentioned, the budget meetings are like an hour long. First part is the presentation, and then you can ask questions. So there's one in each district. Some of the districts have passed, but definitely encourage you to attend the one for the district you live in or represent here on the commission. And then also shared out by Kathy, the next city council meeting where the budget will be talked about is Tuesday, June 13th and Tuesday, June 20th. And there's also a planning commission meeting on Monday, June 12th. So check your email for all of that, and hope to see you there.
Any questions for Commissioner Forreston? So folks will join me June 6th at 5:30, June 16th, we'll be in the library, we'll be there. Advocating for our libraries. All right, we'll move on to our next item. Open up the floor to any commissioners for any upcoming events for participation. All right, as a reminder, you can go to www.sjpl.org to see our calendar. We'll move on to item 11, items for future commission meeting agendas. Any items that for us to consider for future meetings? Commissioner Kelly.
I think we already did that.
Correct. Okay, cool. Just a reminder for our next meeting, it will take place on June 21st at 7 at Berryessa, correct? Berryessa Library Branch. And June 21st, it'll be our last meeting for this year until August. That. Thanks again, folks. Happy Wednesday. Get home safe. We'll adjourn at 8:09 p.m.